Okay, roll call, please. Ms. Holly?
All counselors present, with Counselor Daniel attending via Zoom conference.
Okay, good. Counselor Daniel, can you hear us? Can she hear us? Everything's okay? All right.
I can hear you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, we can hear you too. All righty. Woo. All right, next item we have is the agenda approval.
Mayor, if there's no
Counselor Griego?
if there's no changes, I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, please start voting, please. Okay, Ms. Holly?
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay. Up next, we have citizen comments. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to come up and make any comments? I don't have any comment cards at this time. Okay, all right, tonight we won't have any citizen comments. So next on the item, we have ceremonial items. Tonight we have 3 proclamations, and here at the city what we try to do is share the responsibilities with reading these proclamations among all of the council members so that we all have an opportunity to participate in these activities. The first one tonight is the Alamosa Art Festival proclamation. I will read that one, and then the next proclamation will be read by Councilor Hensley, the Colorado Cities and Towns Week proclamation, and then the final Constitution Week proclamation will be read by Councilor Michael Carson, okay? All righty. Alamosa Art Festival, September 7th and 8th, 2018. Whereas the Artscape Art on Loan program will introduce 15 new sculptures to downtown Alamosa to help beautify and revitalize the downtown, and whereas the goal of the program is to promote and exhibit art while also enhancing the community atmosphere and creating a unique sense of place, and whereas Alamosa Art Walk and Chalk a Walk events will also take place during the same weekend with activities throughout downtown, and whereas this weekend of September 7th and 8th will be recognized and celebrated as an art festival weekend by visitors and community members. Now, therefore, I, Ty Coleman, Mayor of Alamosa, Colorado, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim September the 7th through 8th, 2018 as Alamosa Art Festival weekend in the city of Alamosa, Colorado. And further, I encourage all citizens of Alamosa to support the celebration and activities. Okay, so do we have anyone here tonight, Heather, that we would give this to?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. We've got 2 special guests. The first one is Jolene, who without her work on this would not be possible. Of course, we have other staff, including our streets crews and Parks and Rec, but Jolene has really taken this and run with it and has done an amazing job. And the art committee has been such an amazing resource, and we have one of the representatives here who also happens to be one of the artists in both shows, Herberto Mestas. So we have those 2 individuals here.
Okay, well, if it's okay, I'll bring this down and we'll give it to them. If we can have everyone that Heather mentioned come up front, we'd sure appreciate it for a picture, okay?
Okay. We're right here.
Okay, if you don't mind, could you share a little bit with us? Thank you.
Well, I would like to thank the committee, the county commissioners, or city committee.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Anyway, this project, I've been involved with projects like this for about 30 years. And for quite some time, I always dreamed of having it in Alamosa. And with the great help of some of the community, with Heather, which I brought this whole idea to, along with Mr. Grego, 2-3 years ago. It has been quite an adventure, and the process has been something that we all learn from. And of course, at the end, we have all this beautiful art in Alamosa. And this first year has been, from what I could see, very successful. And we hope that it continues to bring a great success into beautifying Alamosa and recognizing the artists that are involved. And so I would like to thank everybody and enjoy and spread the news about this program. It has spread out into other parts of the arts community, which is really a good thing because it ties everything together with a whole arts community that does a lot of different things. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mayor, can I add
Yes.
a little bit to that as
Sure.
well? So it's really exciting because we are bringing 15 new sculptures for the second annual one. So there's going to be 15 new sculptures, different locations, some of the same artists, so that some of them might have a certain style to them that we've kind of grown used to, such as Running Girl. We have another one from that artist, so some of the community will be surprised by that. We've been able to celebrate the People's Choice. We're going to continue that. We've been able as a community to celebrate the purchase by Connie and Damian Martin and the donation to SLV Health of the artwork. We've been able to celebrate council's purchase of Herberto's piece, which will be moved over to the depot for its permanent home. And for some of our local artists that don't necessarily have a show to rush their piece off to, they're going to let us keep it a little bit longer. So that allows us to have a little bit more inventory from a community perspective. Additionally, it's been about 6-8 months ago, we rolled out the concept of the sponsorships, and I just don't want to miss any opportunity to thank our sponsors. We've had First Southwest come in as a sponsor, and San Luis Valley Federal Bank has come in as a sponsor, and just last week, Maywa has announced that they're coming in as a sponsor. And so all I can say for those other businesses out there is, unless you want to visit from Jolene, who's pretty tenacious, they may want to show some initiative in this area. And so it's exciting. We've got the unveiling. We do have some work being done tomorrow. For our local artists, we are putting up a few of those pieces tomorrow, but Friday is actually the really big day where we put up all the rest of it. We will be doing some tours. They've told me we don't need additional volunteers, so you're off the hook for that, but we do have the unveiling at 5:30, and so it's an opportunity for everyone to come and celebrate the art, the committees, staff's work, everything like that to make this possible. The artists will be easily identified. We've had a lot of lessons learned from last time, so people will be able to associate the artist to the art piece and those types of things. The other thing that's new this year is just the collaboration that's going on with some of the other groups. And so Joyce is here. Sorry. So we've got the Downtown Art Walk is going to be the same weekend. We also have ASU's Art Hop is on Friday night. Obviously, we have the Farmers Market. The Marketing District's Chock-a-Walk is going to be on Saturday, and it's intentional. So these, not the Farmers Market, but the rest of it is intentional. And then Alm has been a wonderful partner on helping us pick some musical selections. We're partnering with Parks and Rec to have our instructor that does pottery to do some demonstrations and those types of things. So it's much bigger this year on Friday and Saturday. And there's going to be the artwork in the downtown businesses. People can get their stamps and for the drawing. It's just going to be a lot of activity, and so we're really, really excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Councilor Griego?
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to make some comments. I want to thank Alberto for, I always bring out the story of how this whole thing started back. We were at a wedding and he cornered the city councilman and he says, why doesn't the city do stuff like this? And I said, we've been trying. I says, but we just got a new city manager just come in and let me visit with her and let's see what we can do. And so we took and we planted the seed with the city manager, and look what, I thought it was going to take at least 10 years to have a weekend festival in our community, but look how fast it's come together. And sure, Jolene and the art committee and everybody got together and behind this deal, but it takes a little planting of a seed that now it's blooming, and this is something I think is going to bring a lot of people out of the community, and we should probably start getting other art people involved in this stuff, but I think from that day on forward, I'm glad to see that. I didn't think I would see it in my time here on council that we would have a weekend where it would be called the Arts Weekend. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Councilor Griego. Okay, I too would like to thank the Art Committee and the city and the staff for a wonderful job, and I'm looking forward to the events that you're going to hold this weekend. And making Alamosa beautiful is a goal of the City Council as well as the staff, and I'm just glad to see this come to fruition. Great job, everybody. Councilor Daniel, did you have a comment or anything? Okay. All right. Up next, we have a proclamation that's going to be read by Councilor Hensley for Colorado Cities and Towns Week. Councilor Hensley?
Whereas municipal government is the government closest to citizens and the one with the most direct daily impact upon its residents, and whereas municipal government is administered for and by its citizens and is dependent upon public commitment to an understanding of its many responsibilities, and whereas municipal government officials and employees share the responsibility to pass along their understanding of public services and their benefits, and whereas Colorado Cities and Towns Week is a very important time to recognize the important role played by municipal government in our lives, and whereas the Colorado Municipal League's member cities and towns have joined together to teach students and other citizens about municipal government through a variety of different projects and information, and whereas Colorado Cities and Towns Week offers an important opportunity to convey to all the citizens of Colorado that they can shape and influence government throughout their civic involvement. Now, therefore, Ty Coleman, Mayor of Alamosa, Colorado, by virtue of the authority vested in him, does hereby proclaim September 10th through the 16th, 2018, as Colorado's Cities and Towns Week in the city of Alamosa, Colorado. Further, we all encourage all citizens of the city of Alamosa to support the celebration and corresponding activities given on under his hand and the seat of City of Alamosa this 5th day of September 2018.
Thank you, Councilor Hensley. Heather, do we have anyone?
I think for this, we just get all staff in the
All
room.
right, that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
All right, all the staff, you got to come up front. All right, all staff, everyone. We're going to take a picture. Everybody. Okay, Counselor Hensley and then Counselor Carson.
I just want to say how proud I am of the city of Alamosa, of all of our staff, all of us that do what we do for these different events. As the vice president of the CML Executive Board, it is really awesome that when these type of things are put on, and obviously this is definitely something that's done through CML, and that Alamosa is one of the first ones that orders the swag that goes out, and we're one of the first ones to say the things that we're going to do. Besides the fact that it makes me proud when I'm at CML and we as Alamosa do so much, but it's also great as a member of Alamosa, how involved we are and how we really try to continue to always do these events and to continue to celebrate our community. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Counselor Hensley. Counselor Carson.
I just wanted to say thank you to city staff. I'm continually impressed with you guys. When I came on, you know, I didn't have a lot of information to go on as to how a city ran. As far as Alamosa, I had seen other cities, and I'm very impressed. You guys are awesome. I just would really like the citizens to know that the city staff does work hard for them every day, and so you should appreciate them. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Carson. Okay, I too like to have a comment. When you look at most of the successful companies and corporations throughout the world, if you ask the CEOs of those companies and corporations what are some of the keys to their success, the majority of them would say their people are the key. The city of Alamosa, the success that we have is because of the people that we have working in our city. And we greatly appreciate everything that you do, and the work that you do is priceless. Keep up the great work. All right, the next one is Constitution Week Proclamation. This one will be read by Counselor Carson, and then we have some representatives here in the audience that will come up to the podium and share some information with us, okay? All right, go ahead, Counselor Carson.
Whereas in 1956, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed into law a resolution to observe Constitution Week, and whereas the Constitution of the United States was signed 231 years ago and is the oldest and shortest constitution of written constitutions, and whereas the USA Constitution has endured longer than any other constitution in the world and has been used as a model for other countries, and whereas it is written in the preamble to the Constitution of the United States of America, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. And whereas we, the City Council of the City of Alamosa, believe in the importance of celebrating the Constitution, now therefore we celebrate the Constitution and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals embodied in the Constitution and proclaim September 17th through 23rd, 2018 to be Constitution Week. Witness my hand the 5th day of September 2018.
Thank you very much, Counselor Carson. Okay, would you ladies like to come up and say a few words, and then we'll bring the proclamation down?
My name is Janet Yon. I'm the regent for the Alamosa chapter of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. I have with me tonight Hazel Petty. She is our chaplain and a past regent of the Alamosa chapter, and Beth Benner, who is our treasurer, who has also been a regent. Alamosa's chapter was formed in 1927. We believe the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution motto is God, home, and country. We have traced our ancestors back to the revolution, which made this country, the war. We are very proud of that. We are proud of America, and we believe in the Constitution, and we support it. We would like all of you to fly your flags during that week, support your country. And we thank you very much for this honor of this tonight. I have some pamphlets for you. It's on flag codes. It's a really good pamphlet, and then I have a preamble for the Constitution, and I have a poster of the Constitution. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any comments, council? Okay, if not, what we'll do is, oh, go ahead, Councilor Rawls, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm very happy to endorse this proclamation. You know, I'm nearly a pure constitutionalist, and I believe the document is a brilliant document. And I know there's groups in the United States that's trying to fight the Constitution, and I think that as good citizens of the United States, we can override that and keep our Constitution, because that's what will keep us a free country and a prosperous country, and that's my belief. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Vigil?
Yes, I'd just like to add to that maybe sometimes in the media we hear that the Constitution is not being taught anymore in schools, and that I'm happy to report that in Center High School we're teaching the Constitution, and my colleagues around the valley in different high schools are also teaching the Constitution. So here in the San Luis Valley, our students are learning the values and lessons learned through the Constitution.
That's awesome, Councilor Vigil. Okay, we'll head down there. And then I also, before we go down, I want to recognize County Commissioner Michael Young, who came in to support Janet and her team today as well. Thank you for coming out tonight. You're welcome. Okay. All right. That brings us to consent calendar A.
Mayor, I move that we approve consent calendar 8.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Not, please start voting, please. Sorry. Ms. Holly?
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay. Up next, we have regular business brought forward by the city staff. Item number 1, Public Works. Harry, okay.
Good evening, Council. Mr. Mayor.
Hi there.
Tonight we have the resolution to adopt the building valuation table in addition to the permit fee schedule. The City of Alamosa adopted a building valuation permit fee schedule back in 2003 that uses the building valuation to determine building permits. For the last 15 years, we've continued to use the same permit fee with no increases. And staff's recommendation is to continue using the same fee without increasing the cost of building permits per the fee schedule. What we'd like council to consider is a building valuation table that is issued by the International Code Council. This table is issued about twice a year, and the table provides a national average for construction costs for all types of construction. Construction types, occupancy uses. The building valuation table will also provide a will provide a fair valuation of both homeowners and contractors or developers, whether they're building their own home or a developer who might be building several multifamily dwellings or units. They take that valuation off the table for residential units. Currently, residential units are based at $137.27 per square foot. And whether a homeowner has the opportunity to take advantage of special pricing through a lumber yard or other subcontractors might give them a discount, it doesn't play a role in the building permit cost. So what it does is it gives everybody a fair value when it comes to building permits using the national cost for that type of construction. The resolution does not change the fees assessed to each value increment on the fee schedule, meaning apart from the standardized value assigned from the table, the fees charged will remain unchanged since 2003. The City of Alamosa building permit fees is certainly probably one of the cheapest in the state, and that's also including Alamosa County.
Okay. Thank you, Harry. Okay, Counselor Hensley.
I'm actually pushing it for Counselor Daniel, and she has a question.
Okay, thank you for doing that. Counselor Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor. Harry, thanks so much for explaining this to us. I appreciate it a lot. And I just want to make sure I'm understanding what I read in our packet. Even though we're not raising the cost from 2003, it looks like on the supporting documentation we have that the cost people would be paying is going up. So is that just because we think our valuations have been so low, or am I misunderstanding something in my packet?
Yes, that's correct. We've always just taken an estimate from a contractor or a homeowner. Sometimes they're pretty conservative, sometimes maybe a little bit slight or light on their valuation of their project. What this does is just everybody's going to be paying that determined value on the table. So we'll see probably a little bit of increase in collections for building permits, as typically everyone's estimates are a little bit less than what their actual cost is.
And I will point out, when they brought this to me to discuss, one of the things that this does solve is there's not consistency in some of that. So sometimes we have some contractors who are pretty close to what it might be now, and then we have some contractors who they're probably a little further away, and we don't have the staff to be able to audit those projects to see where they're coming in based on their estimates. So having this objective list allows staff not to be in that role of second guessing the numbers. It's just much more objective, and it's probably fair, much more fair to those contractors that were probably doing really good on their estimates and coming in, and some compared to some that may not have been as good in their estimates. Is that fair to say, Harry?
That's correct. It's
Okay.
a tool that is out there for building officials to kind of keep everybody on an even playing field.
The other part that I wanted to jump in on, as well as the other part of our staff communication here, talks about some fee schedules that either didn't exist or we're recommending some increases. So for example, the outside consulting for plan review. So for example, this is like when the hospital came in with their expansion, that's something that we would want to send off to get reviewed beyond just what our capacity is. We just want to be able to pass on those costs, and right now something like that's not clear. So you'll see in Harry's communication there's a few of those things. There's also a few things in there where we didn't have much teeth if we caught someone doing something without a permit, or if they're They come and pull a permit, but they don't work for a year, or some different things like that, and it still takes staff resources. So we wanted to be fair, but we did add a little bit of that, and so that's the second half of your council communication.
Councilor Carson?
So I'm a little confused. The outside review was, you were paying 30, or you were charging 30 an hour before, and now it's gonna go up to 50. So is that clear? Is that correct?
So that's not the outside review, that's if an additional plan review. So Harry, do you want to explain kind of what kind of scenario that would be?
I understand
Oh,
that,
okay.
but what I'm saying is,
Yes, the recommendation, right now it's 30, we're recommending that we move it up to $50 per hour.
so we're not eating the whole cost now, we're just gonna increase it.
For an additional plan review. So that's if someone initially brought in plans, they went and made changes, so we need to review them again. Is that correct?
Yeah, if there's a change to the scope of work, currently, the way our fee schedule is written, if someone brings a set of plans in, the plan review is 25% of the building permit cost. If they make a change, we have to review that change. That's where we would apply the additional $50 an hour. As Heather had talked about with the hospital, we've had a couple remodels. I'm not qualified to review that set of plans, and I think the review fee for someone who specializes in that was close to $5,000, but only being able to charge the 25% of a building permit, I was only able to collect, I think it was around $1,300 and we had to absorb the rest of the expense.
And now we could bill it all out.
That would be able to allow us to collect all
It would be a
that's
straight
charged.
pass-through.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't be making any money, but we'd at least not be absorbing it.
Gotcha, and that's what I was trying to understand, if we were taking a hit before, and it sounds like we're taking a pretty significant hit.
Depending on the scope of the project, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Carson. Okay, any other comments, council? All right. Councilor Vihil.
Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution number 14-2018.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Start voting, please. Okay, Ms. Holly?
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, we have another item, the second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 24-2018. Is that you too, Harry?
Yes, as a second reading.
Okay.
As presented previously, the adoption of the 2015 international codes will help ensure that the city continues to evolve and grow as our community grows.
Okay. So at this time, do I open up for a public hearing, Eric? Okay, at this time, I would like to open it up for a public hearing for the second reading of ordinance number 24-2018, adoption of the 2015 International Code family. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to make any comments in regards to this? Please come up to the podium. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing now and bring it back to council. Thank you, Harry. Council? Council Vihil.
Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 24-2018.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, please start voting. Okay, Ms. Holly?
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Up next, we have the water usage review.
Just a quick introduction. It was pointed out to me that I have never brought Mr. Aspinwall before you for an introduction. I think you all know Deacon, but I wanted to formally introduce Deacon to the council and Mr. Mayor. And I want to also thank him for all the many fine presentation documents he's developed for us in the past 8 months. I really appreciate him as an addition to our department. And I'm going to turn this over to Deacon and Roy for the water usage presentation.
All right, thank you.
And if you guys just give me some sign, I can advance the slides.
I'll give you a motion. Okay, so let's look at our water use trends. We can go to the next one. The whole notion of this is that we'd like to quantify as much as possible what we're seeing in our water use. So the bottom line is data and quantifiable analysis as much as we can. It's a lot better than trying to pull stuff out of the air, or we think this is happening, or we think this is affecting things. So with that, I also have a pointer. So I know that means some of you will have to crane your neck, but hopefully I can explain it without you guys having to, pull a neck muscle. So since 2013, we've seen a general decrease in our total metered gallons. And all of this information, by the way, is taken from our billing software. Kristen Van Giesen got all this data for me. She's a rock star. So as you can see, our total metered gallons has decreased every year. In general, our residential consumption has decreased every year, with the exception of 2015, as has the East Alamosa Water and Sanitation District. Our commercial, institutional, and non-potable water has kind of gone here and there. But so those are just some general themes that we're seeing so far. So what's driving our trends? The annual rate increases are obviously a big player, as we'll see later. As I'm sure you guys are aware of, new rates went into effect in 2012 and 2017. So many of you guys were a part of that. Annual precipitation plays a factor. And then some that are a little bit harder to measure are the conservation efforts in education, such as the voluntary watering restrictions we've had this summer, and then updates in construction standards and the installation of water-efficient fixtures. So those, are a little bit harder to tease out of the data that we'll look at, but just keep in the back of your minds, those are also things that will impact our conservation. So here's kind of what we're using for the baseline residential data. The year, obviously, our annual precipitation, our total residential consumption, our population, and crunch all of that up and we get how many gallons per day each person is using. So that's just kind of a nice, handy, easy to work with number than millions of gallons. Okay, so before we talk about this, I just want to point out that on the right-hand y-axis, this is obviously dollars and cents, and that relates to what the different rate structures are per the usage blocks. The gallons per day, self-explanatory, that's on the right-hand or the left-hand side. So as you can see from 2013 to 17, our per person rate has gone down, and these are our rate structures. I would like to point out these R numbers. So when you're doing just basic statistics, this is a number that allows us to quantifiably say there is a strong correlation, a weak correlation, no correlation. So the fact that this is very close to -1 shows that there is a very strong correlation. These -7.8, -7.9, those are moderate correlations. So when we look at this, we can see that what so far between 2013 and 2017, the base rate for the first 8,000 gallons has the greatest correlation to our decrease in water use. Now, I do also want to point out that, so in 2016, beginning in between 2016 and 2017, we see a very sharp decline. And you can also look at our two upper rates, they had a steep increase. So unfortunately, we can't really draw any conclusions off of one data point, but it looks like these other data rates, or these other water rates, are having a fair impact. So in 5 years, we can look back and say, oh wow, it was these, or we can assess that at a later time. Also, I'd just like to point out that there is a new tier established for 42,000 to 50,000 gallons. Any questions so far?
No.
So here's our precipitation. So this dashed line is our average annual precipitation, which is 7.31 inches per year. This blue line, once again, is our annual precipitation. Excuse me, that is our annual precipitation. And then this green line is our residential usage in gallons per person per day. So looking at this R value, we can see that it has a very weak correlation. And I don't know about you, but that surprised me that our precipitation does not have that strong of an influence on how much water we are using on the residential level. So that's kind of the biggest conclusion I want you guys to take from this. So institutions, the reason I include this one, because these tend to be our biggest water users. So Adams State College, the school systems, they've got a lot of grass that they water. So that's where a lot of this comes into play. So as you can see, again, the base rate has a much stronger correlation than the other rates. But once again, we've got a sharp decline, and we've got these sharp rate increases. So once again, in a couple years, we might be able to look back and reevaluate what sort of effect these are having. But for the past 5 years, it's been the base rate that has had the greatest correlation to our water decrease. And you can see the precipitation has a much more moderate correlation than the residential usage. And that, once again, makes sense because if you've got a lot of lawns to water and a lot of your water is going to try to keep your lawn green, the precipitation is going to have a greater factor. So as far as voluntary conservation, Roy put a lot of this information together, so that was hugely helpful. So we've got monthly data going back to January 2016. So you can see we've got peaks during the summer, obviously, and then valleys or troughs in the winter, because most of our water is going towards irrigation or our gardens, so on and so forth. I do want to point out that this very tail end, this is July, this is the last billing cycle, you can see it's flattened out and it's considerably less than the past few years. So to look at that a little more closely, so Resolution 918, it institutes the voluntary watering restrictions. So we've had about a third less of the water from May to July this year versus last year. Total consumption is up 5.6%. Institutional use is also up 14.6%, which is another reason why I wanted to include that earlier. And then our commercial use is up slightly. Residential use, though, is down 31.3%. So thinking back to one of our first slides, some of that's obviously due to the rate increase because there's a strong correlation there. And once we have this next billing cycle, some of that information may change. But given with what limited data we have, that's what we're seeing. So in conclusion, the rate increases that we have are a strong determiner of our reduction of domestic water consumption. So once again, that number means a very strong correlation. And precipitation isn't as big of a factor for domestic use, whereas for institutional use, it is a bigger factor. The voluntary watering restrictions appear to be working to some degree. Now, how much of that is rate increase, how much of that is the voluntary watering restrictions, and how much of that is maybe people not following the watering restrictions but trying to be conservation minded and saying, well, I have to water on Monday, but I'm going to try to water for only 8 minutes instead of 10. So those are likely some of the things that are going on, but it's hard to tease some of that out. And once again, I'd just like to say we have kind of a limited data set, so extrapolating beyond that is a little difficult. So conservation efforts, education obviously help, as do construction standards and water efficient fixtures. And once again, the results are not necessarily the same when you look at the commercial usage or the institutional usage.
Great presentation, Deacon and Roy. Appreciate that. Okay, don't leave yet. I believe council they have a few questions for you. Okay, I'll start over here. I'll go with Councilor Vigil, then Councilor Brawls, and then whoever light flashes up next. Okay, and Councilor Daniel.
So a couple months ago, I asked Heather if we can get this information, because I was curious to see, it was middle of the summer, how we were doing, and this is just awesome.
Cool.
Deacon, Roy, all the other people who helped you with this, thank you very much. This is going to help us in the future, especially if we come into another dry winter and early dry early summer. This is great. And then this will help us with our rate increases and how that's affecting too. This is just awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the data. Appreciate it. My question, why do you think institution and commercial use went up? Are they not affected? Are they not as pronely affected to rate increases?
Well, one thing that Mark had pointed out when we were talking about some of this data is that on a commercial end, if your costs go up, that cost probably just gets passed on to the consumers. So, if their costs for water go up 2%, then that portion, of that increase will be ideally incorporated into whatever their fees are or their charges. And then once again with the institutions, I think it's more important to have a nice green lush lawn for Adams State than it is to save X amount of dollars per month in water bills.
And if I could jump in, it may take institutions a little bit longer to change things than a resident. So if ASU wanted to rotate out some green and put in some xeriscape, they probably have to budget for it, schedule it. So it might take a little bit longer, but I also think it's an opportunity for us to have some discussions, because I know I do get calls from citizens of ASU's watering in the middle of the day or those types of things. So I think there's still plenty of opportunities for some discussions there as well.
Okay. Councilor Daniel.
She doesn't have any.
Oh, she doesn't have
No, I
anything?
don't.
Okay. Councilor Griego.
Great job, Deacon Roy. What scares me is people continue to conserve more and more and the usage goes down. How are we going to pay for all this other stuff?
That's a good Roy question.
Is that we're going to continue to increase because we're not getting the usage? So what does that mean, Roy? Do we continue to have more and more rate increases?
Well, as we saw on the slides with the rate increases going up and usage going down, there has to be a level playing field between the two, whereas the revenue stays the same, that we're not losing revenue and that we're staying, even though we are using less water and we want people to conserve, that we do keep our revenues at the same, so we're not losing at the same time what we're budgeting for the water department or for anything in the enterprise. So if there is a big decline in that, I mean, with the water rates going up, you have to have a level playing field between the two to keep revenue.
And that is something that other cities are, very cautionary about, and why we were so grateful with the consultant we hired, because they were very much aware of that relationship, and that you want to promote conservation, but you need to be aware of what that can mean for the bottom line. So it's something we'll continue to watch, but there's two reasons to increase rates. One is if you're trying to do conservation and stuff like that, but then irregardless of this, you have regular increases that are needed from a cost of living perspective as well.
Thank you,
I
Roy.
think a lot of this was good because it makes people aware of how much water they're actually using and how much they are actually, I'll say, throwing away or putting on the toilet too at the same time. So it's good to make people aware of how much they're using and how much they can save by putting in simple fixtures or watering on every other day or just cutting their timers down by 2 minutes. So I think it brought a lot of awareness to the community and the people that actually did do it as to how much water they are using and what they can conserve.
Okay. Mark, did you have something to say?
I was just going to say it also delays the timing of our plant improvements when we have to increase the capacity of the water treatment plant. So there's a savings there.
Well, this is evidence that we have an amazingly intelligent team working together to see a new employee come on board along and team up with a veteran to put on a powerful presentation like this and impressive. it says a lot about the team that we have working in the city. And thank you all so very much. And thank you for working together to make this beautiful presentation for us.
And once again, Kristen is a rock star for getting this, because, I mean, without good data, you know, garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
So she's
Christian too, all
the
right.
key.
Good deal. Well, thank you for giving her credit. That's great. Well, appreciate it. Any other comments from anyone? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Up next, we have committee reports. Does anyone have any committee reports? Councilor Hensley? Anybody? Oh, who is that? Councilor Daniel. Okay, that'll work.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two committee reports. I was able to attend the Senior Citizens Board this month. It was a wonderful meeting. I'm kind of jealous of Councilor Broyles getting to go every month to meet with them. They were fantastic. They were very thankful, and so I just wanted to pass this on to the staff for helping with the signs and some parking lot issues. And they asked, I guess, for the signs, and within a couple of days or one day, things were posted for them, and they were very, very appreciative. And they've also got a ton of events happening for their members, and so I'm very excited for the work they're doing in the community and with their own community. It's been it was very enlightening to me, and so I was thankful to get to go and Councilor Broyles absent. And then the second committee that I'm on is the Housing Authority, and I just want to give everyone an update. They have, as of August 1st, began implementing their no smoking policy. They have been giving warnings, as was their plan. People who live in the Housing Authority apartments and houses will get 5 chances before eviction, with lots of resources and things like that along the way to assist with them smoking. Currently, there's no smoking allowed on any property. They have to smoke off the property, outside of the property lines. And that is going well, and the tenants themselves are enforcing it within their communities. So it's been a really good exercise. They've also gotten more vouchers. They received more vouchers from this state, which was not something that they were expecting, but they're very excited about that to help more people have access to housing. So we're very excited to see that come into our community. And then they did ask, and I told them that I would follow up about the deer. I let them know that we were having, I guess it was a while ago, we were expecting some guidance from the Division of Wildlife about how cities were supposed to help with their deer populations that are within city limits. I don't know that we've heard from the Division of Wildlife yet, and I know they can take a while to get information to us, but I did want to let everyone know, I think with all of the new deer babies that are being born, and we're seeing people are wondering where we're at with that, and so I didn't know if there was an update at all. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Daniel. Councilor Hensley.
So I was at the golf board last week, and obviously we had our field trip, so we knew a lot of information, but a couple of things that did come up. First of all, some really good news is Woody's is doing really, really well. And they've exceeded all their expectations, and they're really looking forward to having a great off-season as well. When I say off-season, off-golf season. So obviously, just to keep encouraging people to support that, but it's been a great partnership, so that's awesome. The other thing is Robbie is retiring, the superintendent, and so they have already started a search for a new superintendent for the golf course.
Thank you, Councilor Hensley. Any other committee reports? Councilor Ovio, sorry, it's right there.
Thank you, Mayor. 3 updates for you all. First is the Rio Grande Farm Park. They had their local event last Sunday, as well as the Farm to Table event on that Saturday, and they were sold out. They had people here from all over the world, all over the country, and they were really excited to see how local food is then made into dinner. The Historical Preservation Committee, myself and the mayor went out to the The Stagecoach, the Maddox, yep, the old post office. And that was put on the historical preservation rolls. It's the oldest building in Alamosa, so that was cool. And they're currently working on trying to get the Martinez Shoe Shop on the historical preservation roll, so that'll be good. And then I went to the school board meeting last night. They're very excited about the beginning of the year. They're up in student count. A lot of schools are up in student count all across the valley. The student count starts in the middle of October, ends at the end of October, so that's a pretty important time for them. They had a great opening and celebrations for new teachers. They explained that they do raffles on Fridays for teachers, especially new teachers, so that they don't miss school and stuff like that. And then finally, something I just have to bring up is, I don't know, I did speak out yesterday in the meeting. They talked about out in the community right now. There's some talk about renaming the middle school from Ortega Middle School to something else, probably Alamosa Middle School. I don't know if any of you have received comments or calls on this. I know another counselor has. So I wanted you all to know that I said something last night, and I said that this is not a council issue, that we're getting these phone calls as well. So you all need to know that as a school board. And then I took my city council hat off, and I gave them my personal views on that, and I'll just leave it at that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor V. Hill. I remember Councilor V. Hill and I went to that building dedication, the actual historic designation, and they reminded us that was the first official multi-purpose building. No hockey at that time, but they had the lake right there. I mean, the river right by. Yep. Okay. Any other comments? Council comments? Councilor Brawl?
I did have a chance to attend the city court and this last month, and I enjoyed that. That was pretty informative. And I think Judge McDonald's doing a good job from what I observed going one time. So
Okay.
just wanted to report that.
Good deal. Thank you. Okay. Staff announcements.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have a few. Andy, if you and John want to make your way up, we've got another presentation we want to do. It's an exciting presentation over some of the trail work that's been done. So let me get that geared up.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Outdoor Recreation Specialist John Reeser is here to give you guys an update on our city trails, and then I have a few other things to update you guys on as well.
Thank you, Council and Mayor, for having me here. Sure. Heather, there's going to be a lot of this. So.
You want me to go?
Okay. All right. This is an update on some of the trail work that's been done on city ranch property over the last year before I got here, and then this is what I've been taking up since I started. If you look at the black circle on the top left hand of the map there, that's where most of the new trail work has been done in the last several months. We have that Rio Inspire Trail, the Outer Oxbow Trail, the Inner Oxbow Trail, and the Simpson Loop Trail, which adds about 4 miles of single track trail to the trail that we already have. Existing, we have about 9. So total now we have 13 miles of trail in the city. We have another close to another mile that's going to be added next year, which is going to be around the Blanca Vista Park, which will be machine made with crusher fine rock, and I think that's also funded by Great Outdoors Colorado, which has funded these projects as well. In addition to that, we've had to add some gates. So we've added 2 gates. We need another pedestrian gate to go in on the Simpson Loop. I've added aluminum trail signs around town that you may have seen that look like this. And we've also added wayfinding signs. So those kind of those posts that have arrows on it. They don't say much, but they kind of guide you if you already have this picture of the maps in your mind. And we're going to add another 22 of those wayfinding signs here in the next couple of weeks. This is just showing you some of the progress we made on the pedestrian gates. So that's the before image and then the after image there. This was installed by local youth with the Southwest Conservation Corps. They did that work for us. So there's additional maintenance that needs to happen on these trails. We need to continue to define the tread because vegetation is growing up through some of it until it gets more heavily used. But it's actually doing pretty well, and people are using it. I'm seeing a lot of mountain bike tracks on those trails and a lot of tracks. We also have, I guess this is an invitation, we have a ASU Cares Day on September 22nd. You don't have to be an ASU student to participate, but if you'd like to get out and get dirty, you can sign up on the City of Alamosa Activities Facebook page. Next. Something that's been really exciting, I think, is the birding that's going on the inner and outer Oxbow Trail system. As a part of some of my programming, we've done some birding. We had a lot of real interest from the community. This is some photographs taken on the city ranch there. Over 30 species of birds have been identified. One more. These are all photographed on the city property as well, these 30 birds. And this list is on the alamosarec.org website if anyone wants to check it out. I think it's an exciting resource for our community and possibly for tourists coming through here. This just gives you a picture of some of the programming that I've been doing, some of the users that we have on these trails. This was a morning walk that we did through Weekends on the Rio. This is showing the intersection of one of the trails going through the disc golf course. So there's a lot of users out there, and I think they're getting along pretty well. We had a youth disc golf tournament out there. One more. This is our birding group, and mountain biking as well. We had a guided mountain bike ride. It's not exactly an adrenaline junkies thing out there, but it's great. As a mountain biker myself, I can say it's great after work exercise kind of thing, but not Del Norte, not quite yet. So, next slide. This is just some of opportunities that, as I see it, some things that are exciting me as I look towards the future. Possible cross-country skiing and snowshoeing if we do get a decent base of snow this year. We have funding for a snowmobile and a groomer through Great Outdoors Colorado, so we'll have groomed trails out there if we have snow. Continuing to improve signage and wayfinding. Connecting trails with the existing trails with the Chefis property, and we're dreaming, but connecting it with the wildlife refuge south of town. A pedestrian bridge to connect those trails on the north side of the city ranch to that community over there, and connecting tourists to our trail system. And a part of that would be getting these trails on online apps and getting on the web. So that's pretty well it.
I'll add a little bit. So that one picture of the intersection of the disc golf course and the trails, right there. Thanks, Heather. That sign there is a warning sign. You're entering a disc golf course, just because if mountain bikers are flying through there or what. But really, I'm pretty proud of the San Luis Valley Disc Golf Association working with the city and working with us, and the multi-use nature of the area. So far, so good. We know there'll be increasing use pressure, but so far, between signage and good communication, it's been a great multi-use.
Okay, Counselor Griego.
Andy, is the college cross-country runners still using these trails? At one time, they used to run through there, or John?
I don't know that I've seen the ASU team on the Oxbow trails yet. They certainly have been using the Sheffis property trails clandestinely. Connie told us that the other day in a meeting we had. But they're certainly on the ranch and out there on some of, some of those trails are actually paved as you look at our loops. They're certainly on those. I don't know, John, have you seen them on any of the new single track?
I can't confirm or deny that they're out there on the single track. I don't know.
Okay.
'Cause at one time, we had discussions with Coach Martin about putting together a track out there years back, and that's why I asked the question if they were at least using them, so thank you.
Yeah, they're certainly excited about our potential Sheffis property acquisition.
Counselor Brawls.
Yeah, thanks for what you're doing. I like what you're doing out there, so keep it up. Appreciate it.
And when city management hire new people, they make sure that you hit the ground running, don't they? So another good presentation. Appreciate it, John. Thank you for all the work that you all are doing out there with the trails. I have a question. Is there anything we can do as a city to maybe like have some events out there on the trails to promote more of the new trails that people are not used to so that we can get more people out there?
Yeah, I'll update you on what we have done some through the weekends on the Rio programming. So we had like a mountain bike ride. We've been doing disc golf lessons to get young people, or not even young people, into the sport of disc golf. We've done that birding, like guided birding walks, kind of themed walks. And I'm hoping to engage more of the community through more volunteer work days, so people can gain ownership of the trails themselves. But
that's good.
I definitely want to do more.
Well, great.
We're also looking at a trails showcase, something where you guys can all come out. We want to make sure the signage is in place and tie up the loose ends, and we'll get you all out there just like the Blanca Vista Dog Park.
That's great. I was about to mention that because I know when we went to the golf course the other week and had an opportunity to ride around, it gave us a different perspective, and having an opportunity to walk down some of the trails. Maybe Councilor Gray will go about 13 miles with me, and we'll have a good time, but we'll get to see some of the things as well. So looking forward to it. Any other comments? Nope. Okay, thank you. Thank you, John.
I would also just like to give credit to SLV Go, who's been a partner with this stuff, and Great Outdoors Colorado, or GOCO. We actually hosted GOCO today for a lunch at the rec center. They came all the way down for an Inspire meeting with several of the statewide coalitions. So Cortez was there, Pikes Peak was there. So really nice of them to come down here, and good line of communication directly with GOCO. So that was good. Next topic isn't quite so pleasant. We're experiencing a lot of vandalism at our park bathrooms, and Heather asked me to give you just kind of a little bit of an update on this. The ones on the back of the City Hall, just last week, the toilet was destroyed, partitions been torn down, and Harry might be able to attest to this more than me, but that's happened several times. And Zapata Park bathrooms, we had just repaired. We had part of its aging infrastructure, but more of the problem is vandalism and drug paraphernalia going into the sewer lines. And we repaired a sewer line about 2 weeks ago under the building, and part of it is an aging infrastructure. But within a week of repairing it, it already is down again from debris and not only that, but also, human waste issues, and we're just seeing a major problem. And when we hosted a budget meeting at the rec center, one of the things that came up was, well, why can't we have nicer bathrooms or at least have stalls? And so you guys know, if you field these questions, it's been a huge issue, and we're working with Public Works and the police to see what we can do. But obviously, being restrooms, we have issues of invading personal space. But it's really, the costs are in the thousands of what we're seeing each year. And it's tough because we want to have a decent bathroom. So in the course of the Zapata bathroom being down, we brought a porta-john out because we want to have something there. Our provider has had to replace that porta-john 3 times in 2 weeks due to vandalism. So now it's getting to the point of, we're really going to be studying what other communities are doing, ramping up our enforcement as much as we can, but it's not like these guys don't have enough on their plate. So anyway, I just want you guys to know that it's an issue that's related to social issues in our community, plausibly, but it's coming to a head.
It's something that we don't have some easy answers. So Andy talked about trying to do some research and do stuff. But we also, if you get these questions in the public, don't want you to feel unprepared to be able to answer them, because we're not often talking about the type of vandalism we're seeing. But it is significant, and it's challenging to deal with. And so, we're looking at, when we replace a toilet seat, is there the type of toilet seat that is steel or something without a lid type of thing, so it's built to where it's harder to do damage, because we've had multiple stools broken, and so, in the partitions, as Andy said, torn down. So it's not little things that are going on, there's substantial damage, but yet we want an environment where people feel safe using the bathrooms, and that's a key part of a park, is being able to go to the restroom in a safe environment. So we're struggling with it, but we don't want you to feel as if we're not aware of it, but then also to understand it's a little bit more complex too. And so we are looking, do we do cameras on the outside, but what's that really going to tell us? We don't want to put cameras on the inside, even though there could be the possibility legally. So we are trying to look at other options, but it's not necessarily an easy situation.
Councilor Carson.
Personally, I've been approached a lot about this. I've been forwarded tons of pictures, tons of information on it, and I've passed that on. One of my concerns, and I know, Kenny, that you guys are slammed. I'm not trying to put any more pressure on you guys, but I think we do need to look at funding venues or some other way to provide some sort of either regular staff. I don't know how we go about this, but I think just in putting some sort of staff presence at the parks throughout the course of the day. I know that a lot of what I'm hearing is, we walk at lunch, we walk at 5, and this stuff is going on constantly at lunch and after work as well. And to talk about the vandalism in the bathrooms, everybody who's approached me is pretty much saying it's extremely obvious when you see a group of people go in, that there's tons of people going in at once. There's groups of people going in where there are 4 or 5 adults and 2 children going in, and they're all smoking. And this isn't, they've taken pictures, what I've told them in the course of these conversations is you have to call the police, and that's what we're emphasizing. But it's hard for me to also, want to just say that we got to dump it all on you guys, because there may not be crimes necessarily happening all the time. But I personally have thought about taking walks. I haven't done it, but some of the people that have approached me, I've told them that I'm going to go and walk the park with them in the evenings when they walk, just so I could observe some of this. It is pretty rampant. We were having, one of the days that we were having one of the meetings with the Homeless Coalition, there was actually stuff happening outside the window while we were meeting that I wasn't aware of till the next day. And it was pretty, it was pretty bad stuff, especially from a community standpoint. So we do need to visit that and try to figure out if we can get a Parks and Rec person there, maybe even just it doesn't have to necessarily be a police officer, just some sort of liaison to the parks that can patrol and at least give a heads up. Sometimes people are afraid. I know one of the people that approached me about the issue said that she was pretty sure she was seeing illegal activity, but she walks there regularly and she was afraid to call the police because she didn't want to be targeted. that they're approached several times during the course of one lap at the park. There was one lady that actually said that her and her 2 children got approached to buy drugs twice. And I saw the social media post she put about it, but they also approached me personally and told me the story. And it's social issues, but it is something that we have to address head on as far as the parks, because it doesn't matter how much money we sink into the parks if people are afraid to go, and we're basically creating a haven for more bad behavior. So I really like for staff to be able to think about how we can approach that. I know it's not a popular idea, and I'm not trying to spend more money than we have to, but we need to really address it if we want to have safe parks.
Thank you.
It's pretty excessive that in 2 weeks they've had to replace 3 porta-johns. Is that what you said?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a staunch indicator right there.
Thank you, Councilor Carson. Councilor Brawls?
Well, I still think that, if you see a sign, premises under surveillance, and you put up cameras, I think it'll help. It's not a cure-all, but I think, spending $200-300 for a camera and a video would help towards that. What parks are the most impacted?
Well, the 2 examples I gave you, Zapata and Cole Park right here, but it's certainly happening at other ones. Those ones have been probably the most reports that I'm getting. Now, Kenny might be able to give you a different take on that, but if you can find cameras for a couple $100, you might want to let IT know, because they're quoting me significantly more than that.
I'll go to Walmart and see. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Grego?
Is this something that maybe we need to reenact a lot more in neighborhood watch and stuff? I think that would be something that, especially in Zapata, if there was a way that we can visit with those people up there and see if they would create a neighborhood group, that at least if they see something like that, they call the cops and stuff, I think it's something, I know in the past this neighborhood watches worked really good, and people watched out for each other, and I think that's something I think we might have to revisit and maybe do a little bit more emphasis on it.
And I just want to, as a reminder, council's historically been in support of the Neighborhood Watch and put funds in the budget that we still are carrying forward. Unfortunately, the one that was trying to go, they're just having trouble getting volunteers and really getting much, but we're here and we're ready for any neighborhood that wants to start those type of activities. I don't know if it has to be formally Neighborhood Watch, but I do think we need eyes and ears on the street, and we need some ownership to help as part of this solution, not all of it. And there needs to be some other things that we look at for the piece of that puzzle. But right now, calling the police is very important, but then also if someone's interested, contact the police department if they want to do a neighborhood watch. And those funds have been continued for this budget as well.
Heather, do you all think if we establish some type of reward system to where if we posted signs to where if they turn in evidence of someone who's committing those type of acts and the police department can arrest those people, will a reward system work in any way?
We could maybe tie into the Crime Stoppers, because I think there's already a line item, but if we wanted to create maybe some dedicated funds as Protect Our Parks hotline, so it's still the same number and it's still the same minute, or they can be anonymous, but we have something dedicated reward for following up on parks. We could look into that. Chief, did you want to add anything, or you're waking your way? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I guess just so everybody's aware of what's going on, we've been contacted numerous times about this. I've actually worked with Harry reviewing video of the restrooms here. We've begun to work on this problem. We've come up with several ideas during our staff meetings. It's time will tell if that's gonna be something that's effective right now. We've talked about cameras. We've talked about, look, basically what I can tell you is you've been in the same meetings I have, Mr. Carson. You kind of understand where I'm coming from when I say the community is who we have to rely on right now. I think having somebody stationed at the park, it's not something that I can afford to have my guys there. Obviously, we're more reactive right now than proactive, which is unfortunate, but we're doing the best we can with our manpower issues. The call volume's gone up. This is a problem we're trying to deal with right now, but we need to rely on the community. It's just like when we hear about drugs. If the community doesn't help report these issues to us, how can we do it? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
So we're doing the best we can, and Crime Stoppers right now is probably working more now than I've seen in the last 5 to 10 years. So I sit on the board of Crime Stoppers. We actually have the funds available now, and we have paid out 2 incidents in the last month, and the last 5 years, I can't tell you any.
Wow.
So we have got the funds now that are basically donated to Crime Stoppers. If you guys just get the word out. If you can get the word out, Ruth, thanks. It is something that will help the community as well. As long as people are willing to call us and give us information, we'll work it.
I was more thinking along, and I knew you guys are stretched thin as far as officers and that go. I was more thinking along the lines of like a Parks and Rec staff, or just someone in even a city vehicle that's a presence there. I mean, you were aware of the Boyd situation, those emails that we got?
Yeah.
It was like kind of like a dummy car, I guess what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Just some sort of presence to kind of ward off that. He's got a good idea about the cameras. I mean, in my personal experience, just a sign in a shop, in the shop window, this property is monitored by surveillance 24/7, whatever. They do work and they do deter. But I was thinking more along the lines of like just a park person that would be a presence, maybe in a police-looking car, something like that. But I knew you guys were thin as far as police staff, so I wasn't necessarily trying to put that pressure on you.
No, I understand what you're asking. As far as the police department, I mean, I've explained to these guys to do frequent patrols, and I know for a fact that they are doing this. I'm sorry?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've noticed that the presence is there more now. I've even seen it sometimes in the morning a lot more.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that, because people were just kind of freaked out. And I will reiterate to them about, calling the police and being part of that. Again, like I said, you said about the neighborhood watch. I think some of these people feel they're being, the presence that's in the parks is a lot of the same people, the same people that are frequenting that park. And so I think maybe they feel they're just a little afraid that they could be targeted in the neighborhood watch scenario. In my neighborhood, I'll take it upon myself to promote that more.
And I know the neighborhood you live in. I mean, it's not that we haven't reached out to them for Neighborhood Watch. We will try to be team players when it comes to the community, but we have to have their involvement with us. But we go to these meetings and we have 2 to 5 people show up, and it's the same people every time. And I can tell you which district that's in. And it's unfortunately not the district we're talking about. So.
I'd like to be more involved with that too. So if I could be involved in Crime Stoppers at all, Heather, if we could maybe be part of that, especially to promote it in my neighborhood, because again, I'm getting calls in regards to Cole Park as well, which is not necessarily down there, but I don't want to just be talking about it. I want to help with the situation as well. So I'll push that issue in our neighborhood, definitely. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor. So Councilor Carson, Councilor Griego, and I are both on Crime Stoppers. I was not able to make this last month's meeting, but I plan to attend meetings in the future. So we do have some representation there. The other thing is I've been running in the parks and things like that, and I am worried that with it getting colder, more people finding a way into the restrooms and then them not being safe. I think that's important. I do think that our teams in both the police and then us just as regular citizens and walking through, talking to people about, being observant and making sure they have the number to dispatch or, 911 in their phone and making sure that they know that they can call those and that, they can walk away when they're making the reports. I do think people become afraid, but I also think some of that fear is because maybe they've never taken the opportunity. And so really educating people about what the process looks like and how they continue to help themselves feel safe, as well as helping their community feel safe. And so I know our police are trying really hard. I know I've seen many people at the park. We talk to them about the resources. It's up to them to choose whether or not they want to use them in our community. The one thing that I've been asking about, mostly for the safety of our staff, is really where I'm concerned, because they go in and they clean the bathrooms and they clean the places in the park, are needle disposal sites that can be locked, that then people can't, like really serious locks, so that we don't have people breaking into them for used needles, and that they're out of the way for children. But right now there are needles just in our parks or in the toilets, that are messing up the lines. And I'm wondering if we have thought about any needle disposal things so that our staff doesn't pick them up, and any thoughts about that, or signs for the needle exchange so people can go there. I know there's just a lot going on, but I do worry about the safety of our staff and our community, especially with needles and the use that's happening, and didn't know if there were any thoughts from our team about that.
To my knowledge, I'm not sure we've thought about that or researched it. I think we'd probably want to see if some other communities are doing that, and if there's been some unanticipated consequences. Clearly if you have a family in the park and they're seeing a needle disposal site or a sign, is that comforting, or is that a warning sign? But it could be in this day and time. You have to have more sites like that in the community at the same time. So it's not something, to my knowledge, that we've thought about, and Andy and Kenny are both shaking their heads. So it's something we can look into, definitely.
Thanks. I appreciate that, and I wouldn't necessarily want them outside on a wall. I mean, I was thinking more in the bathrooms, not just like in public view, but anything that the team looks at. And I'm okay if it's not a best practice. I just don't know if it is or not. And I do worry about the people who clean things up, and then the concerned citizens who are trying to make the park nice. And I just want to as much as we can to be safe. So thank you for checking that out.
Thank you, Councilor Daniel. Councilor Griego, and then Councilor Carson.
Chief, do we still have an officer that handles the neighborhood watch
We do.
program?
More than one.
Oh, more than one?
Yeah, it's Sergeant Dordan is actually the one that's in charge of that. I usually attend these meetings with him. And Dana Nauer, who recently left, was part of this.
What's good to know that, as the city manager has pointed out, that there's still funds available. And this is something I think, if the community doesn't help us, it's tough on you guys. It's tough on everybody. And these costs, like you say, keep going up and up more. So I would hope that the community would come together and say, hey, well, let us go back to these neighborhood watches and let's find out who's doing all this destruction and help out, so.
Thank you.
I will point out, when I was referencing the neighborhood watch, and kind of probably the same group that Chief has referenced, they are the ones responsible for the Taking Back Alamosa Facebook page, which I think has followers, and that's still very active. It just seems to be this physical presence at the meetings and follow through on some of the physical stuff in real life that we're not seeing. But there has been times where someone will put on that Facebook page, hey, this person's going door to door, it's a scam, when they're trying to sell something. So there is some value that still exists from that group, but it's mostly at this point existing on Facebook and not necessarily in real life, showing up with block captains into the neighborhood meetings, and that kind of stuff is where they've been struggling. But their Facebook page is still up and running, and they sometimes put very valuable information on there for those who are following it.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Carson? Nope. Okay. All right. Thank you, staff. Appreciate it.
Oh, we're not done. So we weren't necessarily planning on solving everything tonight, but if you think of other ideas, by all means, send us an email. I think Andy was going to give a quick update on the ice rink multi-purpose facility as well.
You got a good memory, Heather. Just a quick update as we're gearing up for another skating season. Before that, though, I think roller derby and pickleball have been pretty pleased with their new multi-use facility. So just to let you know, that use from those groups has been strong. We faced an issue of dust mitigation and dirt getting in there. So a quick update on that. We've enclosed most of the north wall with just a traditional pro panel, looks like the rest of the building. The roll seal system, a vertical curtain, so we preserve our view but can shut down the rest of that wall when the winds and conditions dictate. That's going to be delivered next week. We are, working on a landscape plan with Dan, the city planner. We still hope to get the front looking a little bit better before November, so look for that to happen. And then Simco, our chiller company, is doing a little bit of warranty work with pumps and stuff, nothing too alarming, but we're going to be able to time that with the opening, the startup of the skating season, so that will save us a couple $1,000s in hiring a different firm or them to start the facility up in November. So that's your ice rink update.
Well, I can tell you, Andy, from speaking on behalf of the pickleballers, they've really enjoyed the opportunity to play inside, outside of the weather, the sun, and also some of the rain. And we were looking at it the other day, and it will make a great facility for tournaments in the future. We compared it to other places that has had tournaments, and I think that's going to be a great thing. The enclosed area that you've enclosed has really helped out tremendously with some of the dirt buildup, as well as some of the reflection that people were getting off of the wall over there. So that's going well. I also had an opportunity to talk with one of the roller derby coaches and watch them practice there the other day. They couldn't be any more happier with the facility, and they have a real good, solid team there that they're building, and I think it's going to be a great place for those events as well. So we are truly getting full use out of that facilities from other organizations other than just the hockey team, and I greatly appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, Heather.
Okay, are you done, Andy? Okay, so as Andy
Thank
makes
you.
his way back, Mark will come up. I'll sneak in a few. You do have some upcoming meetings between now and your next regular council meeting, although you will notice an invite for a work session next Wednesday for budget. September 7th, this Friday, we discussed the Artscape unveiling. Jolene's been super busy on creating some activities in recognition of the CML's Cities Week. So September 12th is Breakfast with Council to recognize city staff and the work they do year-round. Jolene's also coordinated with the fire department to do a citizen fire safety lunch and learn, and so there's some outreach there. And then bringing back by popular demand is the City Services Toy Story, or Story Time. Sorry. And then the city clerks managed to coordinate with the county for a dinner with the county commissioners and city council on September 18th at 5:30. We just closed out Early Iron. It was a fabulous weekend, tons of people in the community. It's just always exciting to see those cars and all of that personality come to our community. We also had the fireworks in, I think, every opportunity we can thank SLV Federal Bank. This is their 22nd year of being the sponsor for that event for the community, and it's amazing. It was wonderful fireworks, and I know my kids definitely appreciated it. And Mark has an update on First Street and the levee.
Okay, so First Street, we were able to pave the first lift of the asphalt from Faculty Drive through the signalized pedestrian crossing. There's a second lift to go on. That one, that actually was paved on Tuesday. And today we did not pave because we had some moisture overnight. We probably will not pave tomorrow because we had moisture tonight. But with favorable weather, we should be able to complete the paving. We're hoping by September 14th. We expect to given positive weather conditions, to open Edgemont intersection on the 10th of September, and we will hold the traffic for a week after we complete the paving, because we don't want to track the oil on the new red concrete sidewalk that we just, or pedestrian crossing that we just installed. So there will be a delay after we get all the pavement down so that the oil can cure and it doesn't track onto our concrete. But we hope to have everything done by the 21st of September, and then we will have another 2 or 3 weeks before we will do our final striping. So there'll be temporary striping when we first open it, and mid-October we'll have final striping done and be done with the project. I've been waiting so long to say that. Levee project. The state has finally issued the contract to Wood Engineering Group, and they expect to, hopefully, barring weather and scheduling issues, mid-October, mobilize the drilling rigs to do the geotechnical testing for the new levee analysis. So we have a contract in place. It is moving forward. It has been delayed by about 2, maybe 3 months on our starting the sampling. If the weather closes in, or they just can't get the geotechnical company to mobilize out, that'll be pushed to early spring, so probably in March. They will be, if they don't make it in October, the next window of opportunity will be March. They still are on board for, if they get the earlier date, an April delivery for the report. If they get the later date, it'll probably get pushed back to June of 2019 for the report on the levee.
Part of the reason I wanted Mark to provide this update is it was one little statement in there, but for me, it's a big deal. The contract's signed. And so with as much as the state was telling us they were going to put towards this project, I just never know if through the state's budget, if something changes, if that was something that could potentially change. So the fact that that contract is signed is very much of relief to me, because the state is putting significant amount of funds towards this project. The other is we just want to make sure people are aware, if they start seeing some activity out there, what that is.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Nope. All right, thank you so very much, Mark. Appreciate it.
And last but not least is the city attorney.
Thank you, Heather. Just a brief FYI that following up on our recent purchases of sustainability water for potential augmentation plan, the city filed last week an application to change the 2 wells that we purchased, the amounts of water that we purchased out of those wells, to sustainability uses for a potential augmentation plan. So that process is in the works. Kirk will be refining some engineering analysis on one of them, and we will know by the end of October what our playing field looks like in terms of potential objectors to those cases.
Thank you, Eric.
It wasn't last. I will hand out after this. Joyce dropped off the map of where the downtown art's going to be, and people can get stamps and all of that. So I'll hand that to you after the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And council is encouraged to show up to that event at 5:30, right? Well, prior to 5:30, it's going to start at 5:30. Am I correct?
Yes, and hopefully we don't have a downpour like we did last year.
Yeah, at the depot.
Depot.
If there's a downpour, we will go inside like we did last year, right? Okay, good. All righty. So, liquor license authority. You, Holly? Or Eric?
All right, council, this is the action to issue written findings concerning the application of Peaster Marketing Alta Convenience number 3501 for their 3-2 beer license. As you will recall, you took a vote at the end of the public hearing, or at your last meeting, and on a 5-2 vote recommended or agreed to grant the license. So what I've done is prepare for you a proposed set of written findings that would grant that license. And as I indicated in the council communication, unless someone has changed their mind for some reason, I think it would be appropriate to do the same 5-2 vote to adopt those findings. In other words, you needn't feel pressure to vote for these findings if you voted against granting of the license, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So whatever you want to do for voting.
So how do we handle this? So it's 5-2. So okay, we have 7. It's good. Right, Councilor Vigil.
So Mayor, I move that we adopt the findings of fact and conclusions on the 5-2 vote that was taken on August 15th, 2018.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Counselor Daniel wants to make sure she believes that she's probably supposed to abstain from this since she's not here, so we just wanted to verify.
Well, my recollection may be spotty. I think she was here for the public hearing, and so you have not adopted your policies yet.
Okay.
And I don't remember what the draft says about that, but my initial reaction would be if you were here for the public hearing in person, then it's okay to vote on the video conference. The problem would arise if you tried to attend the public hearing by video conference.
Got it.
And can we clarify for the ones who, Councilor Broyles had a question in regards to the motion that was made. Basically, the motion that was made by Councilor Vigil is that we will proceed with this ordinance based on the voting that we had the last time, 5-2. So your no vote would still be no.
Yeah,
if he votes yes now.
Yeah, right. It was a little strange, but I think that's the way that would work. It might be cleaner if we just vote to adopt the written findings, and then the 2 people who voted no can feel free to vote no without having anybody give them the stink eye.
Okay. You okay? All right, good.
Okay. Either way.
Start voting. Okay. Ms. Holly? Whoops.
I'm confused now.
Well, that's why it's a little bit of a strange motion. The motion was to adopt it on the same 5-2 vote that you had at the last meeting. And so if you all vote yes for that, then it's adopted on the 5-2 vote that you had for the last meeting. If you vote 5-2 no, yeses and noes, it doesn't matter. So either way, as long as it passes.
What's the way you want to go, David?
Okay.
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 The motion carried 5-2 with Councilors Broyles and Councilor Carson casting the no vote.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, consent calendar B, Councilor Vigil.
Mayor, I move that we approve consent calendar B.
We have a motion, we have a second. Councilor Grego, second. Any further discussion? Okay. Start voting. Whoops. Something happened.
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Council comment. Do we have any council comment?
I do.
Okay.
I have 2 tonight. First of all, I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Matthias Concrete and Elite Construction. Matthias Concrete donated the concrete, and Elite Construction paved the concrete for Peyton's play ball park down there by the rec center. All donation. So that's really great. I want to give them some loving. And then a question for Heather is, can you please tell us a little bit where we're at with the Water Smarts projects that we approved back in May?
So yes, Dan has designed the two more complicated ones. He just has the two less complicated ones. He is spending the last 2 days of this week and Monday drafting the ranch plan for the rec board on the 11th. Then his next focus is finishing those two. We want to get it out for bid no later than September 21st, but the goal is to try to have it out to bid sooner, and then also to do as much prep work while we're waiting for those quotes to try to save some time. But we still have every intention of doing those projects this year. On a different note, we heard back from the state. They had just a few questions regarding our grant application. It looks pretty positive. The questions were positive. Nothing that was any major red flags or anything. So we have some hope there as well.
Okay, Counselor Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you again for allowing me to attend via video conference. This is my second one this year, so this will be my last one. But I really do appreciate all the work that goes in by Holly and Jim to make sure that I can do this and I can hear you guys. It worked out well this time. And then I wanted to remind everyone that the Stephanie Minor Walk/Run is coming up, and if you haven't gotten on a team yet, please do. There's another one this weekend in Monty as well, another 5K, along with all of the other artscape events that we have going on. I know August is busy, or September is busy, August was busy, July was busy, so I just really appreciate everyone's commitment to everything, and it's been a really fun summer in Alamosa, so thank you everyone for all the work that went into all of that.
Thank you, Counselor Daniel.
Just to tag on to Counselor Daniel's comment regarding the Stephanie M. Minor, you should have received an email from Amy that if you want to walk with a city team, the city can pay the participation fee and all of that. So we are running that. We've done it a few years to encourage an employee participation and support of the event, but then also a healthy lifestyle as well. So let Amy or Holly know if you are interested in registering for the Stephanie Minor walk with the city.
Thank you, Heather. Okay. All right. Do we have any further council comments? Okay. If not, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.